are catching up with Matt Nava here at E3 2016 to talk about Abzû, and I think I'm going to take this diver's helmet off because it's hot enough as it is. And here we go, I'm free. That is, of course, the diver's helmet. The diver is at the key of what Abzû is. Perhaps a little bit forgotten because the rest of the game is so sort of iconic and memorable. Like you're under the sea, that you kind of forget about the diver.
There's a lot to see. There's definitely a lot to see.
There's a lot to see in the sea, but the diver is at the core of the sort of the enigma, the mystery that you're trying to solve here, and the narrative. And we were given a demo here, and I was a little surprised that there is so much narrative and that it's not outspoken, but there is a lot to explore there.
Yeah, what we're really interested in doing is seeding the environment with all kinds of different clues and mysterious things that you kind of are wondering about in the beginning of the game, and then as you go deeper you start to realize what they are and how they're related to you as the diver. So that's kind of how we tell the story, just completely through the environments and the events that occur in the game.
Yeah, it is very interesting, but the impression you get from that is that it's going to be some sort of broad strokes or something. But it feels like there's more sort of exact things there to sort of see and to interpret.
Yeah, I think one thing that's really exciting for us is that the game seems like this very serene, meditative experience, which it is. But at the same time, you're going to dive deeper and start to realize, oh, there's more meaning here, and there's a narrative that you can really kind of get into. There's dangerous environments and other things like that to explore. So there's a lot of surprising things in Abzû.
We talked about the serenity of it all being under the sea and stuff like that. I think one of the things that really makes it that, you know, from just looking at something and sort of being inside of something is the way that the fish move, how they behave. Could you talk us through what's gone into sort of recreating that behavior or sort of interpreting perhaps nature's behavior?
Absolutely. So the challenge of rendering schools of fish is a really big one, and one of the main elements of that is just having so many on the screen. And we actually have schools of tens of thousands of fish. We had to fundamentally change our approach to animation in order to achieve that. You typically start with a skeletal armature that animates the characters. But when you do that, we can only get about 100 fish on screen. So we actually took that away and had to figure out a new way to animate them. And we do that completely with mathematical formula. And that's a much faster way to manipulate them. And that let us overnight have thousands of fish in the game, which is fantastic because that's how underwater really is. You immediately are struck when you dive, like there's just so much stuff down here. So we're really happy to be able to do that in the game.
And they all interact and behave differently, and of course all fish aren't the same. They're not in the same sort of schools and the things like that. They behave differently.
Yes, we have hundreds of species of fish in the game, and large ones, small ones, all kinds of different types, and they're all part of a food chain that connects them. The big ones will eat the little ones, and you can ride on larger ones. It's fun to just see what they do, and we actually included a meditation mode where you can just sit down and watch the fish, and you can see the name of the fish, and it becomes like an aquarium almost. It's really fun.
It's got to be hard to pick what kind of marine life you want to have in the game, because you say hundreds and it sounds like a lot, but it's really just a drop in the sea in terms of all the life that's there. What kind of things did you go for, and what did you want to have in the game?
We have, we had a lot of choices, and actually we weren't sure at first if we were going to make up our own fish or be inspired by real ones. We started to research fish, and we realized you can't make up fish that are more interesting than what's already out there. It's just crazy fish. And we started to think, what are the most iconic fish? What are the ones that you always remember and the ones that really stand out and have interesting features? And so we put those guys in first, and then we started sneaking in all these more interesting, subtle ones that people haven't heard of. Secret creatures, and there's a lot of things to find in there that you wouldn't quite expect. So, yeah.
And sort of at a sort of a special role in all this is the great white. What can you tell us of that? I'm sure it's part of things that we shouldn't spoil, but what can you tell us of that?
Yeah, the great white is this iconic fish. Everyone has a fear of the great white and knows what it is. And I think that there's an opportunity to show more sides to him in Abzû. He's so typically represented as a one-dimensional, very scary monster. And we wanted to show that, you know, these are powerful creatures that you have to respect, but they're actually beautiful and have more kind of elements. So he's a character in the game that you keep running into and learning more about.
One of the most beautiful animals I've ever seen in real life out in the wild are rays. The way they move together in formation, it's like it's a surreal feeling. And I saw you had some rays in there as well. In terms of like those kind of animals, and are the turtles, things like that? What's the range of it all?
Oh man, there's so many crazy types of fish in the sea. You know, the rays especially are so alien. And so we were like, we have to have those guys in there. And obviously we're Giant Squid Studios, so we have, you know, some squids and cephalopods.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert, you know, puffer fish, all these kind of very strange fish that have a real unique personality. So yeah, you know, doing those was a lot of fun, definitely.
And movement underwater is also a little bit different than perhaps what we're used to. And getting it a little bit off would sort of break the immersion completely, because everybody knows how things look while they move underwater, but it's still needs to sort of, how did you go about creating that sort of sensation?
Yeah, that was one of the things we worked on first, was just getting movement that really felt weightless and free. When you're underwater, obviously you have this sense of floating, and we wanted to capture that with the game, and we noticed we played lots of different video games to see how other people handled it. And we realized that there's this very difficult problem, which is what do you do when the character goes upside down? So most games don't let you, because then they'd have to figure out, does the camera go upside down? What happens there? So we said, hey, we're going to let you go upside down. We're going to solve that hard problem, because this is like the core element of Abzû, and it's worth our time. And so we have a very complex camera interaction that lets the diver do complete loops without ever kind of rolling the camera. And it was immediately something that we realized was like very important to conveying that underwater sense.
Did you ever consider VR and first person for this?
Well, the diver does these crazy loops, so we were a little scared about getting seasick. VR is, you know, is a very interesting thing. We don't have it set up for VR right now. It's definitely something we're interested in.
Cool. But you do have a release date now. So when's it coming out, and what platforms?
We're very excited because the game is going to come out on August 2nd, and it's going to be on the PlayStation 4 and on PC via Steam.
All right. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.